What is going on, my fellow Fortniters? And in today's video, I'm going to be breaking down every change that we got in the new update, including a new weapon, an unvaulted weapon, and some changes to current weapons in the loot pool. If you found this video to be helpful, informative, or enjoyable, make sure to like the video and subscribe to my channel for more content like this. If you guys would like, comment down below what your favorite change was this update. And without further ado, let's get on with the video. So we're going to start off with what's pretty much the main topic of this video, which is going to be the new weapon, the CA87 Jawa Scatter Blaster. This shotgun is pretty insane. It does 146 damage to body for a gray version, and for a legendary, it hits for 179. This is the highest amount of body shot damage that any shotgun has ever been able to do, being higher than the Dragon's Breath, which was 165. This weapon also does 190 damage to head, which is more than the pump, but this is not going to be a weapon that you want to be going for headshots with, for a variety of reasons, but the main reason being that this weapon only has one shot, like the Dragon's Breath shotgun. So if you do try going for headshots with this weapon, there is a likely chance that you're not even going to be hitting for as much as you want because of the large spread. And then it's not really worth it because it only does 11 more headshot damage than the body shot damage. So if you do hit for a bad shot, you pretty much just have to reposition or reset the fight, or you're left reliant on your spray weapon, which can make the fight very dicey. So I just recommend going for body shots, because it's a lot easier to do that. One really nice thing about this weapon, however, is that it is cooldown based, so you don't have to go through the animation to be able to shoot the weapon again. You can just do something else, like run around the opponent, or just spray your SMG for the time that the weapon needs to cool down. And then once your shotgun is ready to shoot again, you can swap back to it, which is pretty nice, other than having to be able to reload, go through the reload animation to be able to shoot again. It makes this shotgun a lot better, in my opinion, than other single shots. This weapon's range, in my opinion, is also better than the other shotguns, and I think that's mostly because of how much damage this weapon can do. But still, you really don't want to be trying to hit players from range with this weapon, because it is very unforgiving if you just hit a really bad shot. So in general, this is going to be a very high risk, high reward shotgun. If your aim is good, you're going to be hitting for a ton of damage with the potential to just take away all of your opponent's shields with just one shot. This weapon is pretty insane. This also makes this a really scary weapon to go up against. So even if you don't like using this weapon, you definitely want to change how you approach close range fights, because just one shot from this weapon, again, you can lose all of your shields from that. I call this the ultimate cleanup shotgun, because if you just get a little bit of opening damage with an AR or even a DMR, you can just use your mobility to push the player, and just hitting one shot with this weapon will be enough to just take him out. It's very forgiving as far as that goes. And then also, if you have a spray weapon like the CR2 SMG or the F11 blaster, you make for a fairly deadly combo. Because if you hit a bad shot, or you just hit a good shot, both work. These two spray weapons will more than likely just get the job done after that. It's a very, very deadly combo. And I'll talk about the CR2 later on in this video. But let me just say, it's really, really good when comboed with this weapon. This weapon also heavily rewards patience. So if you are in a chaotic fight, waiting a little bit longer to shoot a shot isn't a bad idea, because this weapon does a ton of damage and you want to make sure you actually deal a ton of damage. So being a little bit more patient with your shots can increase your chance of success with this weapon. But is it better than the ACP? In my opinion, no. Personally, I have had a very unenjoyable time using this weapon, but that's mostly because I'm bad. You can probably see in the gameplay I'm not the best at using this weapon. But I feel like as time goes on, I'll definitely start to enjoy this weapon more and more. It definitely feels like a shotgun that needs more like a learning curve around it. Kind of like the pump and dump last season. I didn't like that weapon when the season started. but as the season went on, I learned to enjoy it more and more and more. I feel like that's going to be a similar case with this shotgun, but I'm probably just going to prefer to pump overall because it's just a lot more of a forgiving but also really good shotgun. And then it's also a lot more quick and snappy. Like, I like playing around cover with my shotguns, I like using spray weapons, and I feel like the ACP just does it a lot better. But if your aim is good again, this is probably going to be your favorite shotgun in the game. But overall, in the tier list, I'm going to put this one at the A tier. I think it's really good, it has a lot of potential, and it's a really good addition to the game. Now we're going to talk about the unfaulted Wookiee Bowcaster. When this weapon originally came out, it used to be my favorite Star Wars weapon, mostly because the other ones were pretty terrible. So by default, it was my favorite. But now that we have actually good Star Wars weapons, I'm not sure if I want to call this one my favorite anymore. But it is still really good. It is an explosive weapon, so it's going to be really good at flushing players out of cover, and then it's also going to be really good against cars. One nice thing about this weapon is that the splash damage actually doesn't damage you. So if you're in a car with someone else and you just want to damage them, this weapon is a really good way to do that. And then also, this weapon does not have a cooldown, so you can just spam it infinitely. The main issue with this weapon, however, is that it has really bad bullet travel time, and then also it doesn't have a scope or an increased zoom or anything. So as a long range weapon, it's not really that good. It's really hard to see opponents from that far, and then also really hard to actually hit players from that far because the bullet travel is so slow. And then also against the flying vehicles, it is a lot harder to hit them because of how fast they are and also because they're in the air. So even though I thought this was going to be a better weapon against those, that's not really the case anymore. So while I think this weapon is really good, it just doesn't really have a place in my inventory. Like, as a long range weapon, it's not as good as the A280 or the IQA11. And then I don't want to be using this as my mid-range weapon. Like, the primary fire without charging is pretty bad, but it does have some nice utilities to it. So in the tier list, I'm also going to give this one an A tier. It's not something I want to have in my inventory all the time, but it's nice to have. There's definitely uses for it. And then for the final thing we're going to talk about for this video is going to be the changes to the weapons. The BARM ST12 got a damage increase. So now it does 72, 76, 80, 84, and 88 body shot damage. And then the amount of shots that this weapon can shoot before overheating also got increased from 7 to 10. This is probably the most impactful change out of all of these, but I still am not going to be using the BARM ST12. If you guys are wondering if I would rather have a BARM ST12 or a CA87, I think I would rather have a CA87. But still, the BARM is a good weapon. I'm happy about the buff, but it's not something that I'm going to be using more because of it. The CR2 SMG got a damage buff, so now every version of this weapon does different damage from each other. The gray version does 13, the green does 14, the blue does 15, which is what the legendary version used to do. The purple does 16, and the gold does 17. So the gold version of this SMG is now significantly better than it was before, and that's what I was talking about earlier, where it makes a very deadly combo with the CA87, because the fight is pretty much over once you've swapped from this to a CR2. This is still not a weapon I'm going to be carrying too much, because again, the range is very poor on this thing, and I like having a good mid-range weapon as my second slot, but I'm a pretty big fan of this change. The weapon is now even better in my opinion than it was before. And then the final, in my opinion, the least impactful change is the DL44 pistol getting a damage buff by 1 for every rarity, and then the accuracy also got increased. This is a good change, but it's not going to make the weapon significantly better or worse in my opinion. I still pretty much have the same opinion on this weapon as I did before, as I do a lot of these weapons, so they're not really going to change in the tier list for me. They're all still B tier weapons in my opinion, but it's still nice to get some weapon buffs. Hopefully the DMR gets some kind of headshot damage or fire rate reduction in the future. But right now, I think these changes are pretty good so far. Anyways, thank you guys for watching the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe to my channel. And comment down below what your favorite change was in this update. Don't forget to have a wonderful day. I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.